urgent, earnest plea of powerful parents who won't give up. And I came out to show support for the Occupy the School Board, Occupy the Superintendent's Office movement, and I'm encouraging everyone to come out and support. And if you can't come out physically, then send an email or a text message to a board member, to State Education Department, to Roger Tillis. I'm going to have my brother Tony O'Kelly put the contact information up. It's important that you let people know that you were dissatisfied with the poor leadership. It's leadership. It's not parents, it's not children, and in a lot of cases it's not even teachers. Although the teacher leadership is lousy, HCTA's leadership is lousy. But the grassroots teacher in the classroom is in a lot of cases as stuck as these parents and the children are. Our schools are poorly governed, they're poorly managed, they're poorly supervised, they're poorly structured. And you saw that if you haven't taken the time to watch the clip of the board meeting where the superintendent is lying about kids taking trigonometry and lying about Mandarin Chinese, and the kids are still reading and writing below grade level. Take a look at Connie's little blurb for Stand Up Hempstead. The sister really laid down truth, and we're going to go back and show you how to read that report card and really understand that it is time that we get into the race to the top. Not only are our children and families being left behind, we're not even at the starting gate of the race to the top. And I want these sisters to know that their work is being seen and it's respected and it's necessary. And I want all of you across the country, across the community, to come out and show some support for this effort to once and for all change things for the better on behalf of our children. If you were an 8th grade graduate from one of these elementary schools, we need you to send something to let the state know, to let Obama know, let the guy, what is it, Arnie Duncan know, let Hillary Clinton know, well, she's not our senator anymore, what's her name, Christine Gillibrand, and Marilyn McCarthy, let them all know that we do expect our leadership to get involved this time. Politics as usual is over. Hold these licensed professionals accountable for the safety violations, for the poor oversight of curriculum, for pointing fingers at copy clerks instead of taking responsibility for their inability to effectively lead change in our district. We are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Support these parents. SOS, I'm calling on you. Y'all remember the old days, the good old days? Can you believe it? 20 years later, still fighting for the same thing? The only difference is now the school budget is twice as much as it was back then. We deserve so much more for our $170 million. Don't you agree?
Yes, we do.
Join the struggle. No struggle, no victory. You got it?
Amen. Enough is enough.
Health and safety first. Academics next. Remember our 5 points. I will be putting those up again, but we need the state to become actively involved. The next time Commissioner King comes to Hempstead, we want him to meet some real parents. Get out the high school boardroom with the racketeers and charlatans and the inability to lead and talk to the real people if you want to make a real difference. You're the youngest commissioner, you're black and Puerto Rican, you should want the best for all children, but especially black and brown children being left behind. We expect more from you, Commissioner King. Come on down here and meet with us. Well, I've cooled, with my hands are warm now. We were out there on the front line, which is always a charge, with the parents from Occupy Hempstead. It was really a blast, and I am encouraging everyone to do their part. Make a phone call invite someone who can come out. They'll be out there again on Wednesday, 1 hour, and it's just to show support. We're going to put up some contact information for Regent Tillis, Commissioner King, Regent Lester Young, our school board members, but they need to hear from you that we are not pleased with what's going on, and it's time for us to get into the race to the top. My hat goes off to Vicki and the diehard crew of sisters that are out there on behalf of our children. And also I want to give a shout out to Sister Connie. If you haven't had a chance to see her video blog for Stand Up Hempstead, she gives some very good information. And it's always good to know that there are other soldiers on the field. The battlefield is so large and we don't know everybody that's out there that's doing the work, but it's always great to see members of our community, other parents, who are taking up the gauntlet and who are taking the time to know the facts so that they're not duped by the PR campaigns of the people who, you know, for very good reason. I guess the superintendent has 250,000 reasons to stand up and try to sell a bill of goods. What we're not understanding is why the members of our school board who live here, who are elected by us to represent our interest, have embraced this idea that it's their job to defend a failing, incompetent school administration to us. And it's time for them to have the strength of their convictions and our support to stand up and stop allowing the incompetence that you see in that video. That's just 12 minutes. But there are so many violations of law and breaches of public trust in the 12 minutes. So if you haven't gone on, you know, sign into the internet, go to Music Man or YouTube and put in Stand Up Hempstead, put in Antonio Kelly, put in Hempstead Schools. Any of those tags will bring you the videos that Antonio Kelly has put up, and get your share of knowledge and information, and hopefully get frustrated and fed up and join the movement. I wanted to today just follow up after spending a few minutes out there on the front lines with the parents. I went back and I dug out some of my own information. This is some of the information that I would turn in every year in my capacity as the attendance teacher at Hempstead High School. The law requires the attendance office to do data analysis annually to tell and determine whether or not our strategies to improve attendance are working. And I did mine. They were never implemented because to make real change you got to do real work, not just put things on paper. But I thought I would share with you some of the analysis that we had done, and to give some context for some of the knowledge that Miss Connie was dropping about the pervasive failure. So if you don't understand why the parents are out there and what it is that we are protesting against, here's some of the facts. And this is from the 2008-2009 school year. There were 1,615 students on the high school roster. Of that number, 187 students met or exceeded the number of credits they needed to graduate, but lacked the courses or exams they needed to earn diplomas. What that means is they had attempted and earned 22 credits or more, but they did not have the courses and or the exams they needed to earn a diploma. In order to get a diploma in New York State, you have to have 22 credits distributed across math, science, English, social studies, gym, health, art, you know, remember PE. We had 18 back in the day if you graduated, you know, in the 70s like myself. But today it's 22, and you must also pass 5 Regents examinations. So that was 11% of the students had more than the number of credits they needed to graduate. They had attempted and earned more than 22 credits, but did not meet the requirements for graduation. 60 of those students were second language learners. 405 students, or 25% of the student population, had attempted more than 22 credits. That means that they had taken 22, 25, 28, 30, 40, even 50 credits, but they hadn't earned enough credits to graduate. 102 had attempted 29 or more credits. That means way more than they needed. 34 of those students were second language learners. 9 students on the roll at that time had attempted more than 40 credits. There was 1 student who had attempted 52 credits through going to day school and night school before dropping out of school and going into a GED program. And at that time, they did abolish the PM high school. But at that time, you would have students who maybe had attempted 34 credits, had earned 7. But they were supposed to be seniors, right? They were supposed to be graduating. And they would allow those students to enroll in classes for a full day. So that was 8 credits, and then at night and take another 4, 5, 6 credits with the guys under the pretense that they were going to pass enough, earn enough credits, and take all their exams and graduate. It was a racket to keep people employed both day and night. Now this becomes important because what you find is that we have a credit taking factory. Nobody's really earning credits. You heard her say, it was, Ms. Connie said that they had, I think, 180 students that were in place to graduate at the end of this year. 450 students enter Hempstead High School as 9th graders every year on average. And the graduating classes are always less than 200. So that's a 50% turnover right there. But this is where we get into the pervasive failure rate. We had 1,600 students on the directory at that time, and I went through and analyzed the first 405, right? So I got through a quarter of the directory. Of the first 405 students, this is an alphabetical directory, 104 had failed to earn 5 credits or more, or had failed more than half the credits they attempted. In other words, a student may have attempted 18 credits and they earned 6. Or you'll have students that attempted 32 credits and they earned 2. And there are a lot of different reasons for that, but one of the big reasons is that teachers have been told by administrators, even though this is a violation of the law, that if a student misses your class 10 times or more, you can fail them. Now that's a violation of the law. Now no student should miss 10 times or more. I'm not advocating cutting, but they do. The students know you can miss. What they say is you can miss 10. You can have 10 absences per semester. That's how the kids interpret the law. But it's all false. But what happens is you'll have a student that will have a 90 average in the class. Well, that's high. But a 90, 87. I had a kid, he had a 97 on the final, a 90 on the midterm. He had passed all the tests, all the quizzes, and he had handed in all his homework. But he missed more than 10 times. And they failed him after football season was over. Failed him. So they'll make those students take the class again. But a student who comes every day and can't pass a test, because we have students that can't, read or write well, but they'll come to class every day. They'll pass them because they came every day. Now you tell me where the logic is, but that's how you get students who at the end of high school, they can't pass the Regents exams, or they can pass the Regents exams, but they haven't passed the courses. It's like whatever we do to perpetuate failure, that's what we do. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. GPAs is another area. We have very low GPAs. Of that 1,600 students, 587 had averages of 69 or lower. That's 46%. 580 students had averages of 69 or lower. 315 students had averages below 65. And yes, if you go through the records, you'll see we have actually graduated students with GPAs less than 65. Now, this was the genocidal statistic that did bear out over 3 years. I verified this. This was the truth for 3 years in a row. That there were only 18 matriculated students with a 90 average or higher, non-weighted. In other words, at the end of the year, if you take honors classes or AP classes, even if you don't pass the AP exam, even if you don't pass the Regents exam, but you take those classes, you get a weighted GPA. But I've repeatedly said to the leadership in the high school and at the district level, there's something wrong with the way we're calculating GPAs and with our grading policies, because number one, we graduate students with GPAs less than 65. And number two, the longer you stay in the high school, the lower your GPA becomes. We had a student that was earning, which was, well, I'm not even going to go into that. That's another show for another time. But if you looked at the roster before they added the weighted GPAs for honors classes and all that, just straight up GPAs, which is the way most colleges calculate your GPA, for 3 years in a row, there were only 18 matriculated students with a 90 GPA or higher. But if 46% of your students have a GPA of 69 or lower, if you have and only 18 have a 90 average or higher, your bell curve is really kind of crazy. But that's how students with very low GPAs can actually be, in the top half of their class. It's kind of absurd. Of the 18 students with a 90 average or higher, 12 had enough credits to be seniors, and 6 of those students had more than 22 credits, but they all were not seniors. And that's another very interesting phenomena about the high school. We have a process, the law requires that students can be given opportunities to earn high school credits while they're still in middle school. So you'll have a student that'll take math and science and earn those credits in the middle school, which means they come into and a foreign language. So they can come into Hempstead High School with 2 or 3 high school credits. Those are also the students that don't fail anything. Usually we have very high failure rates, course failure rates. But we do have some students that matriculate, like most of us remember, you matriculate through high school. What happens with those students is by the end of 10th grade, they will have 17, 18, even 19 credits earned. Now what's interesting is 2 years later, they will have 30 credits, right? 28 credits, but still need 4 major subjects to graduate. What is that? I mean, it's, and then you say, well, what are you filling up their schedules with? And that's where the attempt to provide advanced placement courses and higher order thinking courses and higher level courses like trig and calculus and physics becomes critical, because you do have students that are earning so many credits and they're taking such low level courses. But the reality is that's also where options like specialized programs at BOCES and at the universities and colleges become important. But we don't encourage or allow our students to take those courses because we consider that giving away jobs. So we'll have a student, we had a young man who had 99s, 100s, 96s on the calculus regents, on the trigonometry regents, on the physics regents, and everybody's walking around patting themselves on the back. Trust me, we are not teaching this young man very much. He's a genius already. He had 100 on the physics regents or something like that. And he stayed in Hempstead High School for 4 years. The problem was, until I took this information to a school board member and said, please help this young man. How do we have a student in Hempstead High School that had left the middle school with 100 or 98 on the earth science regents? Nobody identified that this child had potential, genius potential. Here was our Westinghouse scholar. Here was our Intel scholar. No one in the school system identified this genius and had this boy in some advanced science courses at Brookhaven Lab, at Columbia, at NYU, at Sloan Kettering. This is where we're failing our kids. We're not just failing the ones who we're barely teaching to read and write, sticking in special ed, and giving these certificates of completion, or pimping them for 40 credits and then putting them in a GED program. But the students who are excelling are being stuck in fake forensic courses with teachers who barely read and write themselves. That's where it really becomes unconscionable. And where we're failing kids because they're missing 10 times, but they're acing the work. No one assumes that a student stops coming because they're bored, right? You can't get bored with a boring teacher where you've already mastered the work. You took the class, you passed it, but they made you take it again because you didn't take the regents. I mean, there are so many things that happen that when you boil down the analysis, we're really just doing, excuse my language, please don't be offended, but we're pimping these kids for credit hours, which keeps people employed. And when you expose that, it's called whistleblowing, and there is a consequence. I did find out. But here's just some other stats. Nearly 30% of the entering 9th grade class, the 2008 cohort, scored level 1 on the New York State 8th grade ELA exam. That's what level 1 means, below 55. Below 55 is level 1. 30% of the entering class scored at that level. 50% scored at level 2. Level 2 is 55 to 64. 55 to 64, which, yes, is still an F. So 80% of the students left the middle school failing. Well, 78%, right? No student scored at level 4. Level 4 means 80 or higher. 65 to 80 is level 3. And then 80 or higher is level 4. The secondary school suspension rate of 25% is 4 times higher than the state rate of 6%. We reported 684 suspended students last year, and that number did not include students with multiple suspension. So there were 684 students that were suspended, but a high percentage of that number was suspended more than one time. We suspend students for 30, 40, and 50 days at a time. And it's illegal. The superintendent signs off on it. They have over 400 superintendent's hearings a year, so she can't say she's unaware of it. And they put kids out of school for, like, went to do a home visit once, and it was a young man from the middle school. He had been suspended. This was the beginning of the following year. He had been suspended from April of the prior year through November of the new school year.
What?
Exactly. What? What is that? It's a recipe for failure. And I would say to my colleagues at the high school, when we had these no-shows or these kids who just they cut all the time. But when you went back into their academic histories, you'd see in the 6th grade, they would leave elementary school level 4, some of them, right? Some of them. We only had like maybe 38% at level 4, but some of them. But 6th grade, 40 days. 7th grade, 70 days. 8th grade,
100 days. Then you know they did 8th grade again because they weren't old enough to be socially promoted, and they'd be suspended for the whole year. Then they get to Hempstead High School and you want to know why the student doesn't have a habit of attending class. Duh. But these are things that we as a school did to children, not their parents. The parents are in begging to let the kid back in school, or they be at the superintendent's office, they're at these hearings. It's unbelievable. But that's where our fourth point about stopping these 2 hours of instruction for kids on home tutoring, which is another racket, just to give people more money, I think. What do you think a kid's going to do with 2 hours of home tutoring? Or the one I really like, Twilight School, where you go to school from 3 to 6. What is that supposed to do? But make money for the people teaching. It can't mean anything for the student. Anyway, these are the kind of statistics, this is the kind of thing that the parents are out on the front line complaining about. These are the kinds of things that we want the state to investigate. And if you watch these board meetings, that's, everybody say, go to the board meeting, go to the board meeting. I said we should go to the board meetings just so you could see how ignorant the people running our school district are, whether it's on the board side with their inability to ask an intelligent question or to hold these, 6-figure administrators responsible for the decision making, or whether it's the finger pointing of the decision makers, of the people that are running the schools, who don't know that the test who don't know that you couldn't read the test, who didn't pick up the misspellings, and they're going to blame a copy clerk. It's her fault, the person that copied the test. I mean, that kind of thing. But if you look at that and then think about where you work, think about what happens where you work. What would happen to you if you gave those kinds of hem-y-haw and excuses? What would happen? What happens to the children? What happens to the parents? If they try to, the most intelligent voices speaking out are the people that are being punished by the system. But the people that are making, and I'm telling you, there's a website, you can see the salaries. The superintendent earns $250,000 with fringe benefits and a car. The woman who was saying the department was responsible, not her, but the department was responsible for the test, $185,000. The guy on the computer, a lot of money. These are administrators here, and they make a lot of money. And what we really have to ask is, do you see the intelligence, the concern, the compassion even, to get us into the race to the top? Do you see the people? Do you see why we fumbling around in the dark, can't even find our way to the starting gate for the race? Look at the people running the schools. And then we have to ask our new commissioner, Commissioner King. We got to ask him, sir, with all due respect, these people are licensed by the state of New York to lead. Do you see the leadership capacity at that table to take our district where we need to go? I'm going to close with the 5. Where's my list? And Gina, I just love you. She did put the list up, and there is a new website. What's the name of the website, Tony?
Stand Up Hempstead.
Stand Up Hempstead. Please.
It's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook. Stand Up Hempstead. Please visit. Leave some comments. I spoke with the parents today. They're going to join Tony and I in our effort to organize a parent summit. We figure that'll be a great way to celebrate Black history. Let's make history. In February at the Parent Summit, it's going to be a speak out. And we're going to have over the next few days going up the websites, the tweet, I don't know, was it tweet numbers? How do you tweet somebody? You have a tweet account or
Twitter
something?
Account.
Twitter account, the email addresses. If they have Facebooks for Regent Roger Tillis, who's the Long Island Regent, who gave Mr. Strong all the props that made him Principal of the Year for running our high school into the ground and destroying children. Let's hold him accountable. Let's get him out here. Where is he now? We're going to, Lester Young, who was special deputy here in Hempstead, he's now Regent at Large, replaced Regent Sanford, who's always been in the forefront of education for children who have been disenfranchised by the system. And our new commissioner, 36 years old. I think African American and Puerto Rican from New York City. He's been educated at the top schools in the country. From all accounts, he's absolutely brilliant. He's talking about school consolidation. He's talking about holding back money, you know, from these city schools if they don't get in line with the race to the top. Let's get him on record for what he's going to do in Hempstead. I'm still disappointed that he's been here. He met in the boardroom at the high school, and they had no parents there, and he didn't question that. That made me a little suspect, but let's give him a chance. He is silent on this issue. They can't hold back money. If they pull the federal money from Hempstead School District, the district only passes that on to the taxpayer. So we know we don't want that to happen. We need specific solutions to our specific problems. And we need this brilliant young man to come here and work with us to resolve these problems. So here are 5 things that we're asking the state to do that can begin to improve things for us here in Hempstead. Number 1, appoint a New York State Ed Special Deputy Commissioner to oversee school district transformation. That means to ride shotgun on what appears to be an incompetent school district administration. And where necessary, sanction them by sanctioning their certificates. Authorize Nassau-Bosse schools as No Child Left Behind public school choice options, and as the entity by which all of the requirements under No Child Left Behind are made real for children and families locked in failing schools like Hempstead High School. The information that's supposed to go out to parents, the resource center and the resources that are supposed to be available to parents, as well as the full complement of school programs that are available to at BOCES. If there's room for students and if there's room and there's a need, allow parents to use those schools and services. Convene a leadership partnership to study, report, and address the special needs of segregated low-performance schools in the Nassau-Bosse Supervisory District. Require a full day of supervised instruction for suspended students and investigate the relationship between suspension and student achievement. And finally, investigate the needs of overcredited ELL high school non-completers and provide services that will increase the number of ELL students earning high school diplomas. We had a pilot program that allowed the attendance office to work directly with BOCES. We had 22 high-risk students who were either dropouts, truants, or had other very special needs other than special ed, meaning they were parenting, they either were covered by SAVE, which means they had been a victim of violence in the school, or something like that. All of them had severe attendance problems. We had to a 100% of those students did an absolute turnaround. And hopefully over the next few weeks we'll be able to talk to some of those students. I think 5 of them graduated at this point, including second language learners who could not pass the English Regents. Guess what? They were supposed to have more time and other supports that they weren't getting in Hempstead High School. We had students who were reading and writing, not special ed, who were reading and doing math on the second, third, fourth grade level, who with proper supports were mastering those basic skills, and with their textbooks on tape and other supports like that, were able to take and pass examinations and earn credits. 100% of those high-risk students did better. Every one of them. And they're earning diplomas, and they're graduating, and they're attending school every day. That's the success we want for all of our children. That's the potential we have, where we have school environments that cater to the needs, the actual needs of kids. That's what every child deserves. That's what those parents are fighting for. Won't you join the fight? Won't you help us? Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube. And then be about it. Do something to support the cause. Peace out. I'll see you next week.